All right, guys, how's it going? Now, in this video, we're going to looking at some commentary and opinion from Bad News Pearce, our friend James Pearce. People call him Bad News Pearce because Liverpool, they get linked with like a really exciting player and everyone thinks, well, we might do it, we might sign him. And then he goes, no, it's not happening. And so they call him Bad News Pearce because he's never got anything fucking good to say. Sorry, James. He's a nice enough lad, isn't he? Anyway, but this video is really important because he did an article a couple of days ago, the 25th, I think it was, which many of you noticed a shift in his writing, right? It was such a telling article. I think I did the analysis yesterday. You must go and watch that video before this one. Trust me. Right, anyway, in this video, he's also accompanied by David Ornstein, right, who is a more senior figure, right? So David Ornstein is one of only two journalists in the world you need to listen to regarding Liverpool, right? Don't listen to anyone else. Ornstein and Joyce, that's it, right? James Pearce, he's in there with the Liverpool clicker journalists and all that. He's the Liverpool man at the Athletic, but Ornstein, multi-club is the one that always gets the exclusive. Ornstein's the one that's connected. So it's very interesting when he's in the room with Ornstein, and this is what you're going to see, because his comments on here are very different to the article he wrote the other day once Ornstein's in the room. So, this is the video, Ask Ornstein Is Slot's Job Safe. It's the Athletic podcast. It's on YouTube, you can go and watch it. I posted it on the members' website. Sorry, I didn't. One of the troops did. They posted it on there yesterday. I then went and provided a transcript. I got the transcript. Did that yesterday, just for people that maybe can't listen if they're at work or something like that. They can maybe have a sneaky read. So there's the entire transcript. You don't need to listen to all that because I'm going to break everything down, right? But if you wanted to, and you're a VIP member, it's on there. And then we're going to go through this Pearce on paper versus Pearce on air analysis by Dave. And as you can see, again, it's a substantial, amount of writing that's on there. But we're going to cover it all in this video. So you don't need to go on there. I'm just trying to show you the amount of detail that goes into this, right? Right, where should we start? Let's have the Liverpool-only summary of what James Pearce and David Ornstein actually said in the podcast, stripped of the waffle, and focused, on the substance that you're going to care about. Now, I hate having to repeat myself all the time, but we get new viewers all the time. So every article I get or analyze or look at on here with you, I submit to my AI assistant that's been trained. It's not just throwing it at AI, right? Probably about 18 months now to analyze football news articles, the journalists that write them, and the platforms that publish them, right? And my long-term viewers will tell you it's amazing, right? It's really good. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands of articles being analysed by my AI assistant. We call him Dave, right? He's cool as fuck, right? Trust me. And what he does is he looks for certain things that he's been trained to look for. No influence from me whatsoever. In fact, he's trained to not agree with me. So anything he says is his opinions, right? And it's so good because what we do is with every journalist, James Pearce, David Ornstein, even the Twitter twats, they're not journalists, but we log everything, right? So when I submit an article to Dave, he knows what I want to break down. He knows the certain questions. I'm looking for hedging. Does the headline match the content, or is it clickbait? Are there escape hatches in there? Keywords, all these things, inconsistencies, and changes in the author, right? So, because Dave reviewed that article the other day in The Athletic, he's now got the transcript here to review, and he can do all that for it. He says, it'd take me ages to do it, and I'm just not that bright, to be honest, I'd forget, right? And it's very good. This analysis is fucking good. Watch how it changes. Watch how it changes. But you've got to watch the other video from yesterday about, what was it called? It'll say Bad News Pearce in the title, probably. Right. Trust me on this, right? James Pearce, Liverpool talking points. So the things he said, you've seen, there's a full transcript behind. We're not going to go through all that, right? Pearce was unusually blunt about the Bournemouth defeat, calling the performance unacceptable, with no excuses. He dismissed the injury argument, pointing out Bournemouth's own problems and stressing that Liverpool collapsed in the final 10 minutes after fighting back. He highlighted recurring issues, poor defending of set pieces and long throws, late game collapses and fatigue, but insisted none of that justified the performance. On the wider picture, Pearce admitted that Liverpool's early unbeaten run was masking deeper problems. He said it wasn't sustainable and that the team had repeatedly left games in the balance late on, which finally caught up with them. This aligns with his written major surgery narrative, right? This is where Dave has consulted the previous stuff, the article from the other day, without having to be asked, right? So this aligns with the written major surgery narrative. Problems aren't temporary, they're structural. Defensively, he defended Virgil van Dijk from scapegoating, saying VVD wouldn't even make his top 20 list of Slot's problems. Instead, he pointed to Konaté's drop-in form earlier in the season, a dysfunctional midfield and poor performances from attacking players like Salah, Gakpo, Gravenberch and McAllister. On Salah, Pearce suggested his struggles are a symptom of Liverpool not functioning as a unit. That's a comment I agree with. You remember a few months ago I said to you when I watched Liverpool play, they just look like 11 players, it don't look like a team, right? He revealed Salah actually lost his place before Christmas because Slot wanted the team to be harder to beat and described him as a player low on confidence and doubting himself. I'm not having that. Mo Salah low on confidence and doubting himself. Fuck off, I'm not having that. Crucially, Pearce pushed back against the idea that Slot is simply riding Klopp's coattails. He defended Slot strongly, saying it's disrespectful to claim he only won with Klopp's team, highlighted tactical successes from last season, and explicitly said he does not, in bold, believe Slot's job is under threat. Don't talk so damn right. Fucking stupid. He underlined Slot's close relationship with Richard Hughes and said the owners still believe in him. I don't believe that for one fucking minute. I don't. When pressed on responsibility, Pearce finally put names to it. Recruitment risk for Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards. He acknowledged missing out on Zubimendi has come back to bite them. Flagged Konaté approaching free agency. Flagged Konaté approaching free agency, becoming free. Questioned long-term left-back options. And said there's no escaping the need for major expensive work this summer, even after £450 million spent, offset by £260 million in sales. Bottom line from Pearce in this podcast here. This season is messy, the squad is flawed, but Slot is protected. The reckoning, if any, is aimed above him. You fucking know what that means, don't you? Have you noticed? I predicted this weeks ago, do you remember? Since then, they've not stopped talking about upstairs, have they? See what I mean? DKB, fucking don't knows best. Right, on Ornstein, his talking points, it's a bit briefer. Ornstein reinforced the idea that Liverpool are thin in both numbers and quality, as Rafa would say, quality, for sure, which he described as remarkable given the summer spend, while quickly caveating it with net spend logic. I fucking hate that net spend fucking saying. It's all over your ear. He said Liverpool are deliberately keeping their powder dry. We've heard that saying a few times recently. Have you noticed that? Keeping the powder dry. And that their real plans are centred on the summer, not January. He identified central defence as the most urgent area for rebuilding, with attacking depth also a concern. Ornstein noted there are big upcoming contract decisions and acknowledged external pressure on Arne Slot, it's me and you, right? Though he was careful to say he doesn't know if that pressure exists internally. Later, he was more definitive. All indications are that Liverpool have, in bold, no intention of changing the manager and are sticking with Slot until at least the summer. That bit's important, at least the summer. He pointed to an ageing core, Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Robertson's situation and the club's strategy of transitioning toward younger players like Isak and Ekitike. His read is that FSG historically backed the coach when squad turnover is coming. Fuck off. And that exactly that's what's happening here. On Salah, Ornstein floated the possibility that if things aren't harmonious after the summer, Liverpool may eventually consider parting ways, but frame that as a future conversation, not an imminent decision. So, if you're new to this shit, right? James Pearce, he's not close to anyone at Liverpool, right? Of any importance. David Ornstein, close to the big cheese. Paul Joyce, closer to the people that run the club on a day-to-day basis. David Ornstein, top FSG sort of thing, right? They do cross over though, right? So there is a mixture sometimes, And to be honest with you, Ornstein and Joyce over the years, like Ornstein's the best journo at the moment, and then it's Joyce, when I say best in terms of information. It's been Joyce ever since Edwards came back. He was down here, boom, straight up there, born again Joyce. All right. So the reason I'm mentioning as to where they're connected and stuff is David Ornstein. You've got to think here, he's very connected to the main people, the big G's, right? So you've always got to remember that when you see something from Ornstein, always think to yourself, yeah, well, we know you're tight as fuck with them. If it's Joyce, we know you're tight as fuck with Edwards. You've got to know that already, right? If it's Fabrizio Romano, Mo Salah! Rent a tweet himself, you know he's tight, you know, to the journos that, you know, might be helping him, you know, generate, you know what I'm saying? You've always got to, basically, they're all got the pros and cons as well. So Joyce and Ornstein, very credible, but you've still got to look for club messaging, right? Especially from Joyce. And you're still going to look for club propaganda, right? So, overall takeaway, Pearce and Ornstein are broadly aligned in this video here. The squad is unbalanced and needs major surgery. January is not the fix, summer is. Slot is not under immediate threat. The responsibility is subtly shifting upward towards recruitment and squad planning. Slot is not under immediate threat. Well, they're not going to, you know what I mean? I think that this is based on results. If he wins, he's safe, right? He gets more time. If he loses, then he's facing the fucking bully. It's that simple. What's notable is tone. Pearce is harsher on performances and squad flaws than usual. Think about his article of the day as well, but this is on the video. But still firmly protective of Slot. Ornstein reinforces that protection by making it clear Liverpool's power brokers are backing the manager and planning for a bigger reset later. In short, bad results, big problems, but the manager is insulated. If blame is coming, it's being aimed above the dugout, quietly and very carefully. Do you see what I mean? Right. Now, that is a breakdown, a summary of what was said. Okay? What we're going to do now is look at Pearce on paper versus Pearce on air. January 25th versus January 27th. All right? So again, you need to have seen the video before this to get some understanding of this. Right? So, yesterday, James Pearce's latest athletic piece from January 25th was reviewed on here on coptalk.tv. Hooray. The one where he argued Liverpool need major surgery in the summer and laid out in fairly brutal detail, which is something he never does, why the problems look so deep. 2 days later, Pearce appeared on the Athletic FC podcast in the video titled Ask Ornstein, Is Slot's Job Safe? Alongside David Ornstein. In that podcast, there were 4 primary speakers. You don't need to know about all that because we're focusing on Ornstein and Pearce. The transcript has been analysed to look for inconsistencies, tone changes, hedging, holes, and any signs of messaging shifting once Ornstein is part of the discussion. The focus here is primarily Pearce and Ornstein. So, the headline finding. Pearce is not flat out contradicting his January 25th article. The core facts are consistent. Bournemouth was unacceptable. Liverpool have structural problems. Set pieces and long throws are a weakness. And the squad needs major work and summer is going to be big. However, Pearce does change the emphasis noticeably on the podcast versus the athletic piece. The article applies pressure in the present tense and spreads blame widely, including at Slot's door. On the podcast, Pearce becomes more stabilising. He protects Slot more, pushes accountability upward, and aligns far more closely with Ornstein's don't expect to change before the summer framing. And yes, it is entirely possible Pearce sounds quieter and more measured because Ornstein is in the room. Ornstein is the senior inside voice at the Athletic. When he establishes the internal club expectation, no intention of changing, that becomes the frame everyone else speaks with him. Pearce doesn't fight that frame, he settles into it. Listen, think about it. What Pearce said in the January 25th article, the tone is sharper and more urgent. Pearce's piece is written like an alarm bell, major surgery, problems are glaring, another act of self-sabotage, alarming regression, what a mess, serious trouble, if Endo is needed at centre-back. It's present tense pressure. It reads like this isn't just a bad day, this is systemic. Slot takes meaningful criticism. In print, Pearce directly questions Slot's management, criticised the lack of rotation, keeping 10 of 11 from Marseille, points out alternatives Slots could have used, Robertson, Curtis Jones, highlights Slot's reluctance to trust fringe players, says there's lack of trust and regulars are being overworked, frames decisions like moving Szoboszlai to right back as part of the chaos. That's not gentle, it's managerial accountability. Recruitment is also a question, and January is framed as a choice. Pearce wrote that recruitment strategy has to be questioned and explicitly notes they could have taken decisive action this month, citing the Gay decision as an example. So in the article, January inaction is not neutral, it's presented as a decision that invites scrutiny. What Pearce said on the podcast and what changes with Ornstein in the room, right, is one, Pearce starts harsh, then pivots into stabiliser mode. He opens with unacceptable, no excuses, that matches the article's anger and keeps credibility with fans. But as the podcast develops, Pearce becomes more protective. He says he doesn't think Slot's job is under threat. He talks about Slot's close relationship with Richard Hughes. He says the owners still believe in Slot. He frames the season as difficult to judge because of injuries and disruption. That shift is the main change. The article presses on Slot's decisions. The podcast protects Slot's position. The major surgery message is still there, but it's repurposed. The article used major surgery as a warning about what's wrong now. The podcast uses major surgery as part of a calmer narrative. It's coming in the summer, it's a planned rebuild, it explains why they aren't panicking right now. So the phrase remains, but the function changes from pressure tool to patience tool. Van Dijk is handled differently. In the article, Van Dijk's careless error is foregrounded as part of the collapse. On the podcast, Pearce actively shields him. If I were making a list of 20 problems, Slot as Van Dijk isn't in that top 20, he said. That's a clear reframing. Same mistake, different emphasis. The podcast shifts from individual blame to system failure framing. System failure. Salah criticism becomes gentler in tone. In the article, he wrote, ineffective, barren spell, deficiencies. On the podcast, he's doubting himself, team not functioning, scrutiny out of possession. Same conclusion, Salah isn't delivering, but the podcast language becomes more diplomatic and contextual. The Ornstein effect. Why Pearce sounds different with Ornstein present. This is the sounds like I've got a feather up my ass. This is the part that people will find most interesting. Ornstein's role on this podcast is not to rant or diagnose. No, leave that to me. It's to set expectations, and convey what the club's likely stance is. He does that with calm authority and carefully hedged language. Once Ornstein drops his anchor points, plans centre around the summer and no intention of changing, the conversation shifts away from pressure now and towards managed transition. Pearce doesn't contradict Ornstein. He aligns with him. That's why Pearce can feel different here compared to his article. In print, Pearce is the main voice and can press harder. On air, next to Ornstein, he sounds more like a club correspondent working inside an established frame. Ornstein, what he's really doing here, gross versus net spend framing. Ornstein immediately diffuses the £450 million narrative, qualified by the amount they recoup, net spend nowhere near as significant. This is not just accounting, it changes the emotional temperature of the discussion. It's a softener. Keeping their powder dry and plans centre around the summer. Ornstein frames January inaction as strategy, not failure. Not panic buying, waiting for summer, acting to a plan. Even if true, it functions as a cover. It conditions listeners to accept nothing now. The contract detail. He mentions key contracts expiring in 2027, an unusual detail in the middle of a January crisis chat. I'm going to say that again. He mentions key contracts expiring in 2027, an unusual detail in the middle of a January crisis chat. It supports a longer-term planned cycle narrative rather than everything is on fire. Because the contract, they've been talking about the contracts upstairs, you know that, remember, yeah? Upstairs. The perfect hedge, external pressure versus internal reality. Ornstein acknowledges noise, then protects against claiming internal panic. External pressure. Don't know whether that translates internally. Classic, I'm aware, but I'm not confirming. The key line, Slot is safe until at least the summer. Ornstein says all indications of Liverpool have no intention of changing and are sticking with Slot until at least the summer. That phrase is incredibly important. It sounds firm, but until at least is the built-in escape hatch. And I had to read this about fucking 6 times last night, guys, trust me. It sounds like until at least the summer means there is a firm line in the sand that Slot will not be sacked before then. That's exactly why the phrase is effective. It reassures the audience without actually locking anyone into a guarantee. The first thing to understand is that Ornstein is not describing a future outcome. He's describing current intention. No intention of changing. Tells you that the club thinks right now, not what it will do if circumstances change. Football clubs change intentions very quickly. If results deteriorate badly, that original intention can be abandoned, and the wording still holds up as accurate at the time it was said. The phrase "at least the summer" is where the flexibility sits. It sets a minimum expectation, not a fixed commitment. It doesn't mean definitely until the summer. It means the earliest planned review point is the summer. Bless you. It's me dog. If events force an earlier decision, the phrase already allows for that without contradiction. That's why it's an escape hatch. It protects the statement from being proven wrong. Crucially, the wording also protects the journalist. Ornstein avoids absolute language because absolutes can be thrown back at you. By using all indications and no intention and until at least, he leaves room for reality to intervene. If Slot were removed before the summer, Ornstein hasn't promised anything that would make him look misinformed. He reported the situation as it stood, not as a certainty. So while the phrase sounds like stability, what it really means is conditional stability. Do you mind? It reassures fans in the moment, signals the club's current stance, and quietly leaves the door open if performances force a change. That dual function, calm now, flexibility later, is exactly why until at least the summer is such a useful escape hatch in football reporting. Robertson as a transition signpost. He drops Robertson being pursued by Spurs inside the Slot discussion, which supports the ageing core transition turnover story. It normalises change as part of the plan. Yeah. So, the verdict on Ornstein's contribution in this. Ornstein is steadying the ship publicly. He frames Liverpool as patient, planned and not reactionary, and he does it with cautious language that leaves room to pivot if reality changes. Pearce and Ornstein shared framing that stands out. There are 2 moments where the alignment is especially noticeable. Net spend mitigation. Pearce repeats the same basic mitigation Ornstein uses, 450 spent but 260 recouped. When both voices hammer that, it's a shared frame. Don't judge the window purely by gross spend. Summer as the reset button. Pearce's article says surgery is coming. Ornstein's podcast framing says the club's plan is summer. On the podcast, Pearce's message sits neatly inside Ornstein's. That alignment is why the podcast feels less volatile than the article. Hedging and get-out clauses to clock. Well, Ornstein hedges, some people think. People have asked. I don't know whether that translates internally. All indications are until at least the summer. This is the language of someone passing on internal direction without guaranteeing it. Listen to that again. This is the language of someone passing on internal direction without guaranteeing it. Pearce hedges. I don't get the impression. It's difficult to judge him this season. Common sense says no, but This is softer hedging, but it still creates future flexibility. Holes and tensions inside the narrative. Major surgery versus do nothing now. If the squad needs major surgery and is thin in number and quality, the obvious tension is why wait? Ornstein answers with plans centre around the summer. That's a strategy answer, not a football answer. £450 million spent, but still thin. They acknowledge the contradiction and soften it with net spend. Fans focus on the pitch. Club-friendly framing focuses on the balance sheet. Slot is safe until at least the summer. That phrase makes the safety sound firm while leaving an exit if results become toxic, which is what I've said from start to finish. People keep saying they won't sack him until the summer. Well, no. They will sack him if they crash out of the top four and it looks like it's gone fucking pear-shaped, right? Jose Felix Diaz said it very well in something I put out yesterday. It basically said, Slot is like wins a game, loses a game, wins a game, loses a game, backwards, forwards, back and forth, right? So if he loses 3 games in a row in the league, do you really think they're going to go, we'll just leave it till summer? If he wins 3 games in a row, they're not going to go, we'll sack the cunt now, right? It's obvious. It's all dictated to by results, right? If results become toxic, then he could lose his job. So that's just common sense. I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, of course, if you're going to change your manager, you'd rather do it in the summer. Final verdict. Pearce's January the 25th article is a hard-edged warning, and it was very different to what he normally writes. It criticises performance, questions recruitment, and includes direct criticism of slot squad management and trust in fringe players. 2 days later, alongside Ornstein on a major athletic platform, Pearce does not reverse his core message, but he does soften the delivery of it. He shifts from pressure now to planned reset later, defends Slot more openly, and aligns with Ornstein's calmer, no intention of changing until at least the summer framing. That's the key takeaway, not contradiction, but repositioning. Same problems, different emphasis. And with Ornstein present, the whole conversation leans towards stability, patience, and summer planning, which is exactly why the 2 performances of Pearce, separated by 48 hours, feel noticeably different to observers. And that, my friend, concludes my analysis, or should I say Dave's analysis, and my analysis of this video. And it's 3:05 in the afternoon. I've got a meeting in 2 hours, so I'm not going to do any more videos today, all right? For now, I'm sorry. I do have mail stand stuff. I might get them out this evening. Oh, that's what she said. Oh, you. So if you found this video informative, please thumbs up the video, all right? If you've got anything to say with regards to the analysis and the articles, did you see a shift in anything? You comment, please comment, because collectively together we bounce ideas off. I can't say to you how many times I've seen you comment something and I've gone, do you know, I never fucking thought of that. Okay, so post me a comment. Your opinions are very, very important here. Don't ever think any differently. There's a love out under the video if you want to support me. You know the drill by now. Anyone that does that, it's called a super thanks. I give them a shout out the next day on the morning briefing. You can become a channel member if you wish. That really helps the channel. My channel cannot exist without channel members and support through the super thanks, super chats. Just point blank truth. I can't do it without. I wouldn't be able to pay my bills. I wouldn't exist. All right. I don't rely on views, so therefore I don't need to clickbait or sensationalize like these other people do. All right. In the video description, there's 3 links you can use if you want to support me that way instead. Revolut one is my beer fund, my beer kitty for a Saturday. All right, which is not bad, is it? Work all week, my peoples get me a beer, I'm happy. Yeah, nice one. All right, guys. So I think if you didn't see the Ornstein one before, I would watch it. This one, these are 2 of my. I've really enjoyed these 2 videos, to be honest with you, and I did yesterday as well. I like getting into these. I like the fact that we can cross-check and reference and look for contradictions and changes and things like that. I think it's very, very good to see, and it enables you guys just to get a little bit more background. And of course, you form your own decisions, right? I'm not here to tell you what to think. Right, that's it. Mail stand. I'll try and get some mail stands out. I have got an absolutely fucking brilliant Ben Jacobs video coming up. When I can squeeze it in. But for now, that's going to be it. I can't do a live stream later today, I don't think. So I think I'm going to be at this meeting for probably 4 hours or something. All right, I'll leave it with you guys. Yeah, thumbs up, comment, love art, beer. What more could you want in life?